We can witness the barbecue.
Yes, we can witness. Yes, and you missed my popcorn dinner. That's what we had for dinner tonight. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood. Let's see, and if you can make it available for me to
Sure. Yep.
just because that way
I'm in the process.
we make sure that we kind of check back in with
Whoops. Nope. I just
folks.
cut off chat.
I don't expect us to see Chris tonight. He's out of town.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Answer that
Come
on.
I'm having a hard time with my.
No worries.
Okay. Oh, come on. No. It keeps. It's just the stupid finger. There we go.
You know
Should
that
be able to share now.
Nick won't recognize it. The other two of you should recognize the moving finger rights. Was that wasn't that Tickle Finger Fate? Oh, never mind. I was thinking Tickle Finger Fate from Laughing.
Oh yeah.
This is we had a If you've never seen it on Nick TV. Oh, it's called Nick at Night or whatever. Sometime you should check out Laughing. It was hilariously, wildly inappropriate amongst other things. But
Yeah, right.
yeah, but funny.
Sounds right up my alley.
Oh, I mean, nowadays you'd have just said like, why were you so shocked? But the double entendres were very, very funny. Okay, so I will share. Here we go. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of jump over just because the meeting minutes, and actually, I now have the ability to put the minutes directly onto the website, the community website. So I'll start doing that. And so the last link I gave you guys actually would take you right to the ourlumiaisland.org.
Okay.
I did have another. Is this big enough for people to see? Okay. I did have another action suggested for.
That's better.
That's better. Okay. When you guys get around to it, LifeFac, and I'm not sure if any of you guys were on the LifeFac, the committee meeting to give recommendations for the new ferry. But they did, they had quite an extensive document, but at the end of it, so you don't have to read 173 pages. You jump to the end. They had a survey, and it was interesting because some of the questions they asked are the same that we were talking about asking. Things like, do you commute and such. And I thought that if we ask our questions the same way they do, then we get more of that consistency over, time for us to be able to compare data. So I thought it's time for us to get a more detailed survey, or when it's time to meet with people in person in workshops, that maybe we will want to collect similar kinds of data. 10 years from now, I think it would be easier for people to look back on this if we have been consistent. And not only that, but then we don't have to recreate the wheel. Now, one thing I did not see, Nick, and they asked some questions about doing business on the island, but I didn't ever see a specific survey to business people about the ferry. So I never have. Okay, so I was going to say, if it's been done, I'm not sure where we would find it. But
that's good news for us. That's where we can shine. We can get some much needed new information.
Because I think that's still, I think people just maybe never thought about it as having an explicit call out to say, you want to live here and do business here, and there are a proportion of people who do. What they did have, Nick, and they didn't explain how they had managed, they actually took a bunch of the businesses and they showed how many businesses were in each, I don't want to say sector of the island or neighborhood of the island.
Mhm.
Interesting. And we might look at that again and see if any of that has changed. I'll tell you why. It might actually have been in the sub area plan because what they asked,
right.
and they
Okay.
didn't get much yes on this, which didn't stun me. What they were asking was, did Islanders think that there should be a business zone
Hmm.
like around the ferry?
Hmm.
Or I should say along Nugent, right? Now they didn't address there's no available land.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's already purchased, but they still asked the question. And so I think that's probably where I saw it. I don't think it was in this Life Act survey. I believe it was in this sub area plan. And they were showing how many businesses were on the island and where they were. But they didn't ask, and what I was seeing was they didn't ever have a workshop. There was explicit call out to business people to ask them. And so I thought, yeah, us doing that, I think, Nick, you're right. And, I think what we'll want to toss around is whether we have, what some people might do is we might have a meeting first, sort of generalized across the board, different kinds of business people. And then after that, maybe a section, maybe have artists come to a workshop and farmers, ranchers come to a workshop, and then service people, or kind of how we categorize.
Yeah, I think that we have to be sort of careful because I know that there are several people that do business on the island that don't have business licenses.
Interesting. Mhm.
That's an issue.
Well, if we identify a list of businesses and we can send out invites, then they're free to come or not, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
by
you
the way,
Well, just I've done the yellow pages for Leica's own book for a lot of years.
I think my audio messed up. Sorry, guys.
My dog's going nuts. But I've done that for the phone book, and there's some people that I know that are in business, and when we've contacted them, no, we don't want to be listed under the yellow pages because we don't really have a license and stuff, and we don't, we just, kind of. So there is a lot of under the radar stuff here still.
Mhm.
Can you guys hear me again? I lost my audio for a minute.
Yeah, we hear you fine.
Okay, thanks.
Then invite participants.
And you can get a list of current businesses that are on the island, I think listing by zip code with the state. So you could find a listing that way.
So you mean businesses located on the island, Mary? Is that correct?
Yeah, businesses that are located and the owners are on the island.
Okay.
Like I know when I had my, when I was consulting with my sailing business, and Jim with his consulting, we both have to have business licenses and or had, and so you can't, and then there is like a list, because I know we would get mail that someone had bought that list and would send mails to businesses.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, Nick, I don't know if we want to target a time, say in May. Maybe we can generate some ideas and get something so that maybe by June we've started to reach out to businesses.
Yeah, I think that's doable. I've got some bandwidth available in May to kind of a good list together and start composing some sort of survey or questionnaire. Are
Yeah.
we looking to just generate a survey right off
Well,
the bat, or
Honestly, I
how do
kind
we
of
want
see
to
it,
approach it?
I would almost have seen it as a little bit of a progression. So if we contact some people and ask, even if they could get together, we could do,
Mhm.
I don't know, focus group or whatever you want to
Mm.
call it, an initial just thoughts on, here's what we're doing. We'd like to get some more specific input from the community, and here's some things we've thought of how we might do it, but we want to do something that makes sense and people feel like, oh yeah, I'd be willing to participate. And find out if people say, well, it's better to talk to them individually than that, or I like the idea of a workshop because in person, frankly, because it's
Yeah.
more of a chance to just exchange ideas about um, what, because we have to kind of narrow down what would our objectives be, and
Right.
again, mine is sort of pretty open ended. It's just that if we on one level we could say we would need your support. The county or whoever helps to sponsor this doesn't want to hear that there's just some random individuals who live over here and think it'd be nice to have a dock. And to be more coordinated, it would be good to explicitly have groups of people who are affected by having a dock and have some of their input and hopefully support. I know Islander said they would, Chris had mentioned Islander had said they would be happy to talk to us, and I'm trying to remember who else he talked to, but it just seems like if you're trying to do well-rounded community outreach, you want to demonstrate that you've involved these groups of people who would be impacted.
Mhm. Right.
So I don't see much. I think you throw out a few questions and then do, like I say, some sort of a Zoom meeting, or I like in person just because it's more informal, and just say
Yeah.
if we're going to ask survey questions, what kind of survey questions make sense, or would you prefer to just come to some meetings and brainstorm? If people, like I say, I don't know what business impact or what benefits they might derive from a dock, and that's what I'd like to hear.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think an informal workshop or whatever you want to call it, stand-up meeting, whatever, would be a great idea. And also minimal work. I mean,
Yeah.
don't need Nick to put together a big survey or something and then, right? We want to gauge initial interest and find
Gauge
out.
initial interest. I like it. Yes.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is early feelers.
yeah,
Just
right.
see.
Yeah.
And again, it could be by fall, we'd like to be able to put together a couple of paragraphs about what kinds of things are of interest, what are concerns, and some of them might have a better idea of how if we're supposed to have some kind of revenue expectation. I know Terry tossed us out like suddenly
This was
we have
going to
all
be
these
part of a
businesses.
huge Economic Recovery Act or something.
Exactly that. Thank you. Economic recovery. That was the word used. I'm like, I so cannot speak to economic recovery. But if we had
Or
a group of
economic
people,
impact, I guess. I don't know.
okay, well, think about that, Nick, and see if that sounds reasonable, and we can toss around some ideas.
Yeah.
Just very informal, sit down, meet outside at the beach store. Oh, beach store cafe, of course. That's who else Chris talked to.
Yeah, sure.
Just invite some people, sit around with a beer, and say, "What do you guys think? How would you, you put together business plans?" And this is basically we're putting together a business plan for a dock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just get some ideas.
No, that sounds great.
Okay, cool.
Something to bring to the table. I sat in on the disaster prep meeting for Chris I was going over rural emergency management. We had a PhD, a Dr. Diana Bryant, come in from Missouri to talk with us about just disaster preparedness, and she gave some really good pointers or tips regarding our public doc initiative. She had mentioned FEMA grants
Mhm.
and even Homeland Security critical infrastructure grant.
Really? Okay.
That might be something for us to look into. There's also university extensions under EDNs, Emergency Disaster Networks. Something maybe through University of Washington or even Northwestern, they may have a extension that could be applicable to our ask.
Okay. So is this extension like I would associate with USDA, the
Yes, they generally, from the sounds of it, they mainly work in agriculture stuff.
yeah.
But there is a possibility that it could also apply to what we're seeking to do. It's just that was kind of shooting from the hip. It sounded like from her, but
Yeah.
also it could be a possibility for us to look into. The other insights, well, it's all stuff that we kind of knew anyway, but an emphasis on gaining visibility, and we can do that through outreach to kids. She kept on really stressing that if you can reach the kids will convince their parents. So some sort of exposure to the Islander school would be good.
Yes.
Just to get the kids interested in this. Maybe have like a kids boating day or something.
Yeah.
Get them out on the water and get them interested in this project.
I had that on one of the activities for engaging the community. But that's a fun. I hadn't really thought how exactly. We would have an in, I'm guessing, through Tammy Immer.
Yeah.
But that's a great idea. Maybe host Day on the Water or something.
Yeah, because then we could shuttle kids to the boats on anchor with dinghies, and then they would have to see that their poor old parents have to stay on shore because there's no dock.
Exactly.
I love that. Sorry, Mom, Dad. Yeah, it sucks to be you, but you can't climb up into the boat. So, and I think the other aspect of that was because there is now part of the curriculum that is outdoor education, but specifically marine education,
Oh, really?
and marine stewardship, or there's a specific curriculum.
Oh,
great.
And so I think definitely to start with a beach school, but it would actually be interesting to talk to folks at Ferndale, because it would be a much more interesting place to go boating than, say, Ferndale.
Right.
Lane, you said it's part of the school curriculum at the beach
anywhere.
school, or
It's a
everywhere?
Washington. It is one of the Washington initiatives.
Oh, okay.
Where did I write this up? It's in the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Did you not read every single slide in our PowerPoint? Really?
I missed that one.
This is actually my application to be on the disaster response team.
Okay.
We've been talking to folks over there. In fact, I knew when those folks were coming to visit Nick, and I was hoping to be there, and I forgot. I think maybe it's Joan Moy. I think I forgot to send her an email and say, "Oh, we would like to talk to them." Anyway, so let me, because it already happened then, apparently, since you already went.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, it did.
Because
Hey,
they were.
Nick, did they mention that about in Washington, like the National Guard, administering some of those grants, the hazard mitigation grants?
No, she didn't, but she's also not from here. She's from Missouri, so I don't think
Mhm.
she would. She may have kind of lumped that in with some of the critical infrastructure stuff. Maybe that does kind of fall into the same line, but she didn't specifically mention, from what I recall. What she did say
Yeah.
was if we can work with as many 501c not-for-profit organizations that are in support of what we're doing, that's a big influence.
Mhm.
So Salvation Army might be something for us to look into. Give them a ping. Yeah, and getting just general letters of support from businesses and creating an influence campaign of some sorts is kind of her guidance as to getting this accomplished.
Mhm.
So being in Missouri, they're not really in the same boat. But it was all really good information and good ideas.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, because that I guess FEMA requires each county to have a hazard mitigation plan. And Whatcom has one. But Lummi's is that, but what we have for Lummi is very, very not very well defined on the county's plan. So it would be interesting to find out what our fire department does for the hazard mitigation. Because that's where my sister-in-law says you can find money there, and they have it.
Yeah, I did look into it because, but what I was finding was the specific things they were looking for were ones I could associate with a fire department, like using a response to not a spill, because that's taken care of by permanent, isn't it? But something I couldn't think how we would spin the dock to work there. But I didn't talk to anybody specifically from that department. I was just looking at the grant descriptions, and none of them seemed to lean this way. But like you say, they also were not. They're not island. You know, it's not for an island.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
what I'll do is I'll call my sister-in-law and see if she'd be willing to come on a Sunday night with us and pick her brain, because she knows a lot about federal grant sources in FEMA and the hazard mitigation plans and stuff like that.
yeah. Now it is true. Washington is, like you say, Washington. Our spin on Office of Emergency Services is to run it through the military. California's is very different. It's to run it through, the Office of Emergency Services. And so I don't know if they have the assumption that you call the National Guard and the National Guard deploys what you need.
I don't think so. I think that the National Guard manages the grants in Washington for FEMA.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think for the hazard mitigation, I think that's what Cindy told me. But
okay.
I'm 70 years old and my brain gets confused now. So
okay. So yeah, well, talk to her and Nick. Yeah, I was or Dave, you asked me about the curriculum. I have it all written up, and my guess is I've put it in another document, but because it was about talking with the with the um, school, but it is just recently, like as in 2021. They said, okay, starting in 2022, you need to have this marine education part of in your curriculum.
Okay.
That's new. Yeah.
It seemed like we would be a good resource for them, and hopefully um, talk about, well, if you want access to marine activities um, around here, once you've walked out on the beach and you're done, what else is there?
Mhm.
So I think they could make a good corollary, but we'd have to find. I was guessing that end of the school year when things quiet down a little bit would be a good time to approach.
Yeah, no, those are all very interesting opportunities, I think. I had no
Well,
idea.
and I think that this is again sometimes it's hard to decide which things to do first, but the does the farmers market not actually start until like July 1st?
No, no. They'll be having their organizing meeting early May, and it usually starts Memorial Day weekend.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
So we want to start thinking about having a booth.
Yeah, and a table you can either buy for a season, or you can go, it's $4 a time. So,
Okay.
and if it's like $4 a time, like if we wanted to just go like, because to staff the table,
Yeah.
maybe we need to just figure out, okay, when people would be available to staff the table, and then just sign up on those days. And you can just bring $4 and your table and give the money to Mary and set up. The advantage of having I checked this out with Mary Barstow, and the advantage of having, you pay for the season, then you get an assigned spot, so you're in the same spot every week.
Okay.
But if you just come, you just kind of get to set up, where they tell you to.
Um.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, it seems. I don't have any problem with not being in the same spot every time, and I don't.
Yeah.
There's enough of us to be there every week, for heaven's sakes. And so I think that would be fine. But I was just curious because I'm kind of thinking, what do we want to have in place before we show up there? And so I think that even if we have kind of I don't want to say these are half-baked ideas. These are preliminary. Let's look at that. Spin this possibly. These are preliminary ideas, and the point was we weren't supposed to just run away and make all the plans without talking to people, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
So we're here to talk to people, and you're kind of. It depends, I guess, on who walks up that day as to which conversations you have. But
Mhm.
I guess we should look at the calendar and start thinking about when to
Hmm.
schedule. To be again, because visibility around here, that's probably one of our key ways to get out there.
Yeah. And a lot of people, I've tabled there before for the Heritage Trust, and there's a lot of visitors that come to the public market.
Oh, yeah, and that's what that was how we met. I mean, that was the first thing we did when we came to
Mhm.
the island and met
Mhm.
John Granger and got sucked in the evacuation group. But it was a great, it was a great introduction.
Mhm.
So whether I'm trying to decide, good idea or bad idea, should we have a big sign that says "There's no dock. Good luck if there's an outage"? I mean, that would be one way to get attention.
I think that would piss people off.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, Mary.
Mhm.
Okay, maybe we won't do that. But I think the realities of island life.
Yeah, no, I think it would be good to, set up some kind of come up with like a photo collage thing or something.
Oh, yeah.
That shows the pictures of the people, like, take some of the stuff from our PowerPoint
Yeah.
and make a sign kind of a thing that we can have like on the table to just generate conversation.
Yeah. But one of those boards, those tri-part boards. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I have
Yeah.
a canopy that we could use if it's a damp weekend,
Uh-huh.
or if it's real sunny. Sometimes it's just nice to have a canopy so you're out from under the.
Yeah.
So a pop-up, I guess, I don't know what you call it, a canopy, a pop-up, yeah, whatever those things are.
Yeah, I'm going to assume you're now talking about like a 40 by 40 circus tent, because that on some levels would be so appropriate.
No, mine's like an 8 by, I think it's like 8 by 10. It's not huge.
Nick, you and I could go. I think we should get matching costumes, though. What do you think?
Oh, I like it. Sounds good.
No, we need T-shirts or something, right?
Yeah, official T-shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, because down the road, I mean, we may end up in some fundraising scheme. We got to start having printed mugs and
Right.
stuff like that soon. But
I think a good conversation starter is just posing the question, what if we had a public dock?
Yeah.
That's just open-ended, and it can go whichever way, the person you're speaking to thinks it should go. Not should we, but what if we did?
what if? Yeah. What would it mean? What are your thoughts?
We could build a little 3D model of the plan and have little kids fishing and stuff, and it'd be great. Boats coming and going on magnets.
Sorry, I'm trying to find you. There it is.
We got to paint a vision, right? Uh-oh.
Okay, try to warn me. You're gonna say something like that. Okay, so I have that. And I think by next week, by the end of May, I think when does school end here?
It's usually in June. It's going to be because they had some flood days that schools were closed.
Okay.
I don't know if they had snow days. I think that was mostly during holidays.
Yeah.
But I do know that there were some flood days that kids couldn't go to school.
Yeah. Because I've done. I was thinking we did our search and rescue at the fair. The county fair was always a big deal. One thing we did was had a little coloring book kind of a thing about search and rescue, staying found kind of a thing, and we can do some little marine, a little something about fishing or boating, some sort of water activities. Maybe for a handout for kids, have some crayons, because I know I would like it. So some child oriented. I didn't ever see a ton of kids at the Saturday market, but I assume they do come.
They do come. They do. But people bring their kids. It's not all just geezers that come over to the island to visit. And there's a lot of younger people.
Okay. Well, I think the only other thing I was going to let you guys know is that Alan forwarded me a request for information from a woman who is a supervisor on the board of directors for the Whatcom Conservation District, and they're working on their 5-year plan and want us to know about how to gather input from Lummi Island for input into this 5-year plan. And so he passed her on to Greg, who I think was going to invite her maybe to a LICA meeting soon to find out what they do. But he also sent it to me and said that, the doc person would respond to her. So I sent her a note, told her a little bit about what we were doing, and said, although we don't currently have a specific conservation aspect to the plan, would really like to hear more about, where we would intersect and how we could relate. And I also sent her a link to the the Heritage Trust Aston Preserve, because one of the funding parties is the Whatcom Conservation District Fund.
Yes, they work very closely. The Heritage Trust works closely with the Conservation District.
Right. So I sent that to her, and she personally, I think, was only a little bit familiar with it and said she was passing it on to staff and to the other directors and everything.
Mhm.
If you hear anything back from Whatcom Conservation District, that may be why. I recognize them just because I go to park cleanups on a pretty regular basis, salmon habitat restoration, and often they're one of the players. But I wouldn't have put them on my list of someone we should reach out to. So that was good. And still waiting, I think, to hear back. Terry, I think, was going to follow up again with Executive Satpal. So I assume we'll have heard from Chris if he had heard back.
Yeah. I don't think anything really earth-shaking has happened.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
And I was at the LIFAC meeting, and Mike McKenzie has become like the liaison for LIFAC to our committee.
Oh, I wonder.
And
Okay.
he has not been coming to any of our meetings. And, when I had talked to Lane and said, well, I'll be at the meeting and I can go ahead and give an update. And at least I could have at least read what you had to say on your update report. And I thought that's what Mike was going to do. And he just kind of really about 2 sentences, and that was it.
Huh. Okay.
So I think we need to, he just said, I talked with Chris Emmer and and even some of the things that he said, I don't think he got quite right. So it was like, I was a little disappointed in that. And so I think that it might be good to reach out to Mike and say, if you're going to be the liaison, please attend our meetings occasionally.
So Mary, Mike's on the LIFAC board, or?
Yes, he is a member of LIFAC.
Okay.
And he said that he's going to be the liaison. So,
okay.
And but I really wish if he were. I think it would be great. I think it would be great if he's the liaison, but it would be really good if he was participating at this end of things.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Or
But I don't know.
If he doesn't have the time or interest to join our meetings, maybe we can give him a brief before the LIFAC update that he could read from. I don't know.
Well, and we gave, well, I don't know if he received that from Lane, if he got the brief. Did you send that to Mike at all?
Well, I didn't have.
An email contact for him, probably.
Actually, he's the same Mike McKenzie from Parks and Recreation, isn't he? Or is that
No.
Oh, this is a different person. Okay.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was thinking, is that the same one? Okay, so so I sent it. I sent the note that said we would like some time on the public. Planned to do part of the 3-minute, and did they want to write up? I sent that to that Life at Google. Got nothing back from anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So then because I said.
And then you did the
I'll send you
write-up,
one.
and I would have been glad to have, done that, but then when I talked to you, or
Yeah, Chris
I
said
guess,
that Mike McKenzie was going to cover it, and
yeah, yeah. And so when that was said, then I said, okay, then I won't. And so I didn't say anything during the 3-minute time.
okay.
And I don't feel that Mike really, I don't think what he said was it was like less than about 35, 40 seconds. That was about it.
Mm,
About, what we were planning and stuff like that. So I don't think it was as good of an update as we would have had if we had one of us do something. So I don't know.
Um,
And that was a bad day for me because that was the day that Jim was having surgery. So I was just
mm.
yeah, because
kind of
I
coming with,
in the past, sent them a little update because that's what they use for the minutes.
mhm.
But I don't know how we find out who would know. I mean, I'm not sure how this happened. We did maybe Chris thought all of us knew, but that's not something I knew anything about. So
Yeah.
we had a liaison.
Yeah, well, he's just kind of said he's going to be a liaison between LIFAC and our committee. So, and he's a good guy and does a lot for the community. So,
Is he from the island?
yes,
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure because the list. I was reading the list and I couldn't.
yeah,
tell.
he's had, I don't know, he's a good guy. So I just,
Okay, so I'll just say that we
Mhm.
should probably reach out to.
Yeah, I
just
need
have
to reach out
coordination.
to him and have a conversation, I guess.
Yeah, just to some.
yeah, just, yeah. And so, and I'll reach out and just kind of, I think I'll reach out and just say, Mike, if you are going to be the liaison, can you come to our meetings or at least try to,
Or then
know.
let us. I mean, we're happy to provide. The same kind of.
Yeah,
role.
we'll provide something for you to read,
Yeah.
but yeah, because he says he's been like watching the videos, and
I see.
so I don't know.
Okay.
Well, that could be kind of boring.
Oh,
Mhm.
He might not pick up on all the highlights that we could provide.
Yeah. So anyway, but that was just, I was a little concerned over that.
okay. So we'll just find out if that's a quarterly thing or how often they
Mhm.
are looking for an update and just have one that's
Mhm.
reasonably accurate for the. Okay.
So
Okay.
should we?
Shall we go to the FAQs?
Yeah, and we can just maybe turn off the recording now then,
Sure. Yeah, sure.
or do you want me to keep it on?
I don't see any reason. Like I say, this is a lot of kind of more wordsmithing. I don't know that most people will be too fascinated with.
That would be boring. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and recording stop. Let's see. No.